Example 4, application problem section 2.2. In this problem, we see that there is a Boeing 747 which is crosses the Atlantic Ocean at 3,000 miles with an airspeed of 500 miles per hour. The cost function is given to you, and I've highlighted it here. It's 1,000 plus x over 100 plus 3,600 over x. Okay, so if I graph this function, my independent variable is going to be the ground speed, which is going to go along the x-axis, and my dependent variable is going to be my cost function c of x. Okay. Now, in this particular problem, the A is asking you to find the cost if the ground speed is 200 miles per hour, and also to find the cost if the ground speed is 350 miles per hour. So, it's technically asking you to find the value of the function. So to find the cost for 200 miles per hour, you would just find what C of 200 is, and you'll be plugging in 200 in the place of x. So 1000 plus 200 divided by 100 plus 3600 divided by 200. You can plug this in your calculator, and whatever you get would be the cost for a ground speed of 200 miles per hour. The same thing you would repeat for 350. So now you're finding the cost when your x is 350. In other words, it's finding the value of the function when your variable x is given. So 1000 plus 350 divided by 100 plus 3600 divided by 350. I think you can plug this in your calculator and get what the answer is. Okay. Now, B is asking you to find the domain of the function. So to find the domain of the function, again, we are talking about money, cost, and we are talking about speed. So domain is all possible x values the function can have. So, we cannot have a negative speed, right? So domain has to be, by looking at the graph, it has to be greater than 0. X should be greater than 0. So I can say that the domain of this function is x such that x is greater than 0. Or if I have to write the interval notation, it would be 0, comma, infinity. Okay, so now the next part of this problem is using a graphing utility to graph the function, then creating a table with your graphing utility, and also using your graphing utility to find the nearest speed 50 miles per hour. To the nearest speed 50 miles per hour, what ground speed minimizes the cost per passenger. So what ground speed minimizes the cost per passenger? So technically what it's asking is, from the graph, it's asking you to find, if there is a minimum point, what is the minimum x value for y to be minimum. Okay, so to do this C, D, and E, I'm using my graphing utility. First of all, to graph this function using my graphing calculator, I am going to plug in my function as y1 is equal to 1000 plus x over 100 plus 3600 over x into my calculator. And you see I already inputted it. So I have y1 is equal to 1000 plus x over 100 plus 3600 over x. And I also set some viewing window. So if you see, the x minimum I kept as 0. X maximum I'm keeping it as 1000. The scale I'm leaving at 1. I can change if I want to, but I'm leaving it at 1. Y minimum I keep it 500, Y maximum 2000, and I'm keeping the Y scale at 1, 2. So these are the standard viewing windows I have to look for. Now, so if I hit graph, see what happens. So when I am going to graph this function in the paper, I am going to make sure that I will show these values. So this is my 0, 0. So x is 0, y 0. Oh no, sorry, not x0, y0. It's x is 0, but y is 500. So I am going to make sure that I represent that properly in the graph. So I would use a squiggly line there just to say that here I'm starting from 500, but the origin is still 0, x is 0. And then I keep the x maximum as 1000. I'm keeping the y maximum as 2000. Now I hope I can see the graph. Let me hit graph and see if I can see it. Okay, so here I see the graph and I can sketch this graph. Approximately what I see here would be fine. I'm sketching it. Okay. Now I can also take, so technically it's asking what is this minimum x value for the cost to be minimum. So that is what the answer for E, that's what I'm looking for. So in order to do that, I can go into the table, and that's what D is asking us to do, to create a table with the table start at 0 and delta table as 50. So to do that, you hit second table set, and then now you see the table start value is 150. I'm going to keep that as 0, and I am going to bring the tables delta table as 50, and that's what they're asking me to do here, right? So 50, which is what I did, and then I will leave the independent and dependent auto, like so that automatically the calculator would generate it for me. Now I need to see the data table set. So to do that, again hit second graph, and you will be able to see the table. Okay. Now, what I'm looking for is the minimum y value. So technically, wherever my y is the smallest, is the corresponding x value is the answer for E. So to do that, like I can, keep scrolling down. I'm going to keep coming down, but I'm looking at the right column. So I see the right column 10 for 400. I'm seeing 10, 13 for 450. 10, 12.5, 500, 10, 12.2. So it's decreasing. 10, 12 at 550. At 600, it's 10, 12. 650, it's 10, 12. 700 started increasing. So it's somewhere between these three numbers, between 550, 600, and 650. Now, since it's asking me to the nearest 50 miles per hour, okay, to the nearest 50 miles per hour, what ground speed minimizes the cost? I'm going to take this middle number here. So since I have 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, I would take 600 as my minimum value. So the answer for this would be the ground speed has to be 600 miles per hour for the cost to be minimum. Now, if you would like, I would also like you to put the table and write your x and your y values. You can call it y1 if you want. It's fine. And just put some values in there. You don't have to write everything. Just, you can start at 250 or start at 500. So you can show me that you are able to see this in your calculator. Like say, I would just do 450, then I would go 500, 550, 600, 650, 700, 750, and then write the y values that you see there, so that we can see that even though at these three values, like even though at 500, oh, I'm sorry, even though at 550, 600, and 650 you see the same y value, I'm just kind of taking the middle value. Therefore, 600 is the minimum value here. I hope you understood it. Again, if you have questions, please ask.